Linda S. Cunningham. I'm the author of The Marauder and His Daughter. And today I'm with Richard Avery. He is a marauder's son in the Navy. Tell the audience about your father.
Okay,
Introduce his father and the battalion he's in.
My dad was in Maryland Marauders, 5307th Composite Unit. He was in 3rd Battalion, and he was in 3rd Battalion's I&R platoon, Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon. Sometimes they call that I&R to stand for ignorant and rugged instead of intelligence and reconnaissance. Because of some of the things they went through and had to put up with and some of the mistakes they made, it was ignorant and rugged. And that was a slogan that was pronounced by the platoon leader, later Colonel Logan Weston. So my dad had been in the South Pacific. He had been wounded, he was with the 43rd Division in South Pacific, 172nd Infantry, wounded, sent to New Zealand to the hospital to recover. When he returned on the hospital ship back to join his unit in Guadalcanal, he offloaded off the ship, and there was a tent set up, and they were looking for volunteers for a dangerous and hazardous mission. So Colonel Hunter was in that tent, and my dad asked him what was going to be the mission. And he said, "Avery, I'll tell you this. It's going to be a long boat ride, a long train ride, a long walk." Well, my dad thought about it a little bit, and he says, "Well, it can't be any worse than what I have already been through." But it was.
So the Marauders left out. Your dad was picked up in the islands.
He was picked up in the islands after he'd already been wounded with the 43rd Division.
Right. And my dad went out of San Francisco on the Lurleen. And this was a luxury liner that was converted to a troop ship. So they left out of San Francisco, but then they stopped in Brisbane, Australia, picked up some there, and then the islands, and picked up Dr. Hopkins and Logan Weston,
Yeah.
and your dad,
Yes.
Inman Avery. And my father was Larry Stevenson, and this is from my father's 1944 diary that I found in the attic when I was a child. And as an adult, my dad and I transcribed his diary. So the entire diary is in the book. But before we get into some other things, I found some things in the attic among Daddy's stuff. And this, if you can get a close-up on that, that is halazone. That is the medication that they put in their water to purify it. And the men got to where they were so thirsty, they would just drink the water with the halazone, and it dissolved in their stomachs. So I don't know how effective it was then. But at any rate, if you can see it up close, it says halazone. And then this is something else interesting that I found in my father's thing. This is what they carried their cigarettes in. You can see the drab olive green color. And this was the cigarette rations that they were given, and it's Winchester. And I think it still has a couple of cigarettes in there. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. And then
Then if I could make a comment about
Absolutely.
the cigarettes. The
Yeah.
cigarettes would come in their ration pack. And they would, some of the men did not smoke, but they took these cigarettes and they used them to burn the leeches off of them so they wouldn't leave the head of the leech in their skin when the leeches were so bad on them. And that's how they got the leeches to release their bite.
right.
And I guess to the smokers, sometimes trading cigarettes was like buying money with money.
That's right.
Yeah, there was currency.
There was currency, no doubt about it.
Okay, when they got to India, they were in Delhi, and that's where they trained. And so we have figured out that this was probably a training poster for them, and it says, "This man is your friend," and it's got Chinese, and he fights for freedom. Okay, so the Chinese and the Americans were allies, and they were fighting against the Japanese. So they had to be able to distinguish between Chinese and Japanese. So this was one of their learning tools. And then, of course, I've got other posters. This is Harper's Magazines. I believe this is in 1957. And it talks all about Merrill's Marauders. It was after the war and probably near the time that the first movie came out about Merrill's Marauders. And then this is another poster, and we have General Stilwell up here. And here's General Stilwell here. Here's General Merrill, and then these were twins. I can't remember their names at the moment. Let's see, they were Joe Still. No, it doesn't say. I don't believe. Anyway, and here's General Stilwell down here. So anyway, these were pictures from magazines and newspapers. But anyway, I wanted to say one thing about writing The Marauder and his daughter. And I was really frustrated at one point because I didn't have a good map. And if you see this suitcase here, see it's old, beaten up, it's metal. And when we moved to this house, a lot of things were put out in the barn, no less, and I'd never knew what it was in them. It was from my mother's estate, and I just put everything over into one area with, I was going to look at it later. Well, it turns out one day I was writing this book and I got to a real frustrating part, and I just started praying. I said, Lord, if you want me to finish this book, you're going to have to help me find an authentic map of 1943-44 Burma. And do you know, my husband comes in with this suitcase and he said, I found this out in the barn. And he said, do you know what's in it? And I said, no, I don't. I said, well, just put it in the bedroom. I'll check it out later. Do you know, later on, I looked in there and I found Daddy's map that he carried during the war. And it's framed and you can't see it because of the glare of the glass. So I didn't bring it, but that helped me through, and it was just, felt like I had a little divine assistance there to finish this project, The Marauder and his daughter. Richard, when Marauder kids get together, we just talk Marauders. We talk about the mission, we talk about the ammo and the all of their equipment and everything that has happened. And so, but I wanted you to talk about Dr. Hopkins' the ballistic study that he did.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say that I call ourselves the Marauder kids, but we were almost like cousins, because over 40 to 50 years we all developed this relationship because our dads had been in the conditions they were in, and we attended the reunions with our fathers, and so that's how we got to know each other. And we'd only see each other maybe once a year, but over time we developed this relationship based on our dad's experience in World War II. And with that, Dr. James Hopkins was the battalion surgeon for the 3rd Battalion, which our dad was in. Dr. Hopkins had already been in the South Pacific with the 37th Infantry Division. He served in the same division with Logan Weston, and he kept meticulous records, ballistic reports of the wounds on the soldiers when he was in the Southwest Pacific. When he shipped to Burma with the Merrill's Marauders and become part of that organization, he kept very detailed ballistic reports. And because of his ballistic reports showing the wounds, or the causes of the wounds and the deaths of soldiers, today the modern army today has the Kelvar helmet and the body armor that we have today, and it's mostly because Dr. Hopkins had all these records and showed the weapon, or the wounds, and what a better body armor would do to protect our soldiers today. And he even testified before Congress and was very influential in the Army, the military, adopting these preventative measures to prevent wounds. I might add also that Dr. Hopkins was the great nephew of the founder of Johns Hopkins Hospital and University, and it was a very outgoing person. I remember I used to send emails to him, wish him his birthday every year, and he'd always answer back. He was really just a really great person, and I just enjoyed having his company when I would meet him at these reunions, and he would tell me things that you don't find in the history books today. And we hope through our children, through Linda's family, my family, that we can keep this information in front of the American people. And God bless America.